Hello, I'm Scott Pacino, editor of Telecoms.com, and I'm delighted to be here on this special AI panel at the Tecnotree stand at Mobile World Congress. We've got the assembled cognoscenti of AI among the telecoms industry, analysts on the vendor side, on the operator side. So we're just going to explore AI, especially generative AI, in a telecoms context and see where we stand. So I'm going to start with you, Camille. Could you just give us the top line of some of the stuff that you've looked into on generative AI recently?
Okay, well, I want to start with the humans. As much as people talk about saving money with using AI in the telecoms industry, and no doubt we'll get onto that, there's also the opportunity to make money by using AI in customer service. I think we're encouraging greater stickiness, loyalty, because actually they can do a lot of the small jobs that are a pain for many enterprises, small businesses and consumers. And I think that's an aspect, let's not forget about it. I'm actually really interested in the fact that Vodafone and Microsoft are here because, you know, they're working together to profit from AI, but also to expose that to smaller businesses, which I think is really important. The humans that actually want to change their own businesses by using AI. So that's an aspect that I think I'm really passionate about, and I want to hear more about myself.
Iain from Microsoft. I just wanted to say I think generative AI is affecting all different areas of the telecoms industry, but in particular customer experience is a massive area which is it's got huge potential to make big improvements. We're working with both MTN and Vodafone in the space whereby we're trying to transform the web. So the front end web experience, today you have to go hunting. You go hunting for information, you spend time looking for frequently asked questions. All of that can now be served by generative AI, Ask Me Anything. And that service in its own right actually makes the front end much more better user experience for the customer. The second one is in the back office. When we're dealing with customers and we're having a conversation, often it's the agent hasn't got all of the information at their fingertips. Generative AI gives you the ability to provide a co-pilot or a summary of information. And that's a really, really beneficial because it not only does it help the customer to get the answer first time right, but on top of that, it also gives the customer the ability to have new offers and promotions that might be available just specifically personalized to them. So that's the other one. And then the final one I would say, as I hand over across, is the whole telecoms ecosystem has the possibility to benefit as well from end-to-end automation from generative AI. So generative AI is essentially the possibility to have a conversation with your data. And that really, really, really helps being able to find information about HR, about finance information, about billing systems. And that's the bit which you can see many people will develop applications to use generative AI at the front end, but essentially it's tapping straight into the application. And that's really the power of generative AI. Pass over to someone that's a leader in the field. So,
great, thanks Iain. It's Justin Shields here, CTO for Vodafone Business, so responsible for all the engineering, customer delivery of our enterprise customers. And thanks Iain, we've just done I think a very high profile partnership with Microsoft that we're very excited about. There's an AI element to it, but actually it's a multifaceted partnership where we will work with Microsoft to migrate a lot of our legacy state to Azure. We've got a specific partnership in IoT. We're going to take more services to market with Microsoft, but then we're really working with Microsoft as a primary partner on AI, which we're super excited about. Look, when we think about AI, we sort of put it into three different buckets, if you like. I think the first bucket is all around general productivity. So using Copilot, right? And that can be from a developer perspective, it could be my business manager creating a better document using Gen AI. And I think we're very comfortable in that space. We see a lot of productivity opportunity. Then we see a second bucket, which is really on business transformation. So how do you transform the business using Gen AI? I think we did a cross-company piece of work, identifying 200 use cases already with Microsoft. And I think around 30 of those that we saw as really implementable now with some really significant benefit. A lot of them, to your point, are in the customer contact center. I think we're fortunate that we had quite a lot of investment, firstly in a single data platform that makes it easier for us to exploit Gen AI, and then secondly, we've done a lot of work already with chatbots and extending a chatbot using Gen AI, which means it's no longer such a serial interaction, it understands context, is a lot more efficient. And also to your point, I think that's really going to enable better performance for our agents. So I think those two buckets we're pretty comfortable with. I think on the third opportunity, which is the most interesting for enterprise, is how do we make more money? I think there we're kind of an early exploration, but yeah, really core part of our strategy going forward.
Thank you, Justin. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Nikos Angelopoulos. I'm the Group CIO of MTN Group. Pretty similar journeys. Also, MTN operating in 17 countries. For those of you who don't know, it's 300 million customers in Africa and Middle East. And we started the relationship with Microsoft in 2022. So we are in the thick of things, delivering in the second year now. Great opportunities, very much like Justin mentioned, the categories, the productivity, internal Copilot enablement. I think it's going to be a game changer. Of course, the hype is higher than the reality at the moment, like it happens in every technology in the life cycle. So we are learning. I think we are learning together. But for sure, the opportunity and the the value we can create out of this is going to be phenomenal, especially if you focus to the right users. And one of the things we have to understand well together is which is the field of better application to have more value extracted faster and earlier in that life cycle, so we can finance effectively the investment needed for further expansion. The second category is same, pretty much the same story. We have a very, very big investment on our big data environment. We have been fortunate to have started digital assistants or chatbots in very many places. And as of last year, probably in June, July, we started exposing and transforming our agents using OpenAI Enterprise Framework. And we have been battling to make it right, but we have also been fortunate to actually see some very fantastic impact in the market. We now have millions of customers in Nigeria, for example, who have already conversed in an OpenAI, Gen AI type of fashion already at least once. And you can see the familiarity and the engagement that you can create is actually enabling us to move customers to that channel, as opposed to before, try and get out, try and call, or trying to find the fastest possible way to know which button do I press to get to talk to an agent. Right? This is the most usual thing, I find myself pressing star or zero before I even hear the prompt or the options. But what you see is that the language barrier is dropping, and therefore the engagement is higher, and customers are more prone to stay in the channel, and therefore really create the value that we expect from the digital assistants and take it from there. Obviously, productivity internal, we have deployed an agent for our employees. Over and above, on the side of Copilot enablement, we actually help our employees with an OpenAI enabled bot. But thirdly, I want to talk about what we can enable in the market and actually in the societies we operate in. So I just described a little example of what can actually happen that affects the lives of people in areas that otherwise we wouldn't even think about. So there is an example case where we're exposing a lot of APIs. So software developers can develop an application, and the application is targeted to farmers, remote farmers with practically zero support. And now the guy or the girl can go and use an application on the phone and actually discover diseases on the crop before something really bad happens. And that can be life-changing. That can be, the difference between having a livelihood going on, putting food on the table for people and their family, to complete disaster, losing a crop not making money and go into poverty. So I think the biggest opportunity, and since we're talking about humanizing AI, is that the technology is a level setter. It enables the societies to actually elevate the lowest part, the less skilled, the less enabled parts of the society to actually have access to technology that enables them to grow economically, grow their own future using technology and being able to sustain themselves better in the future. So I think that's the most important aspect of productivity or enablement of employees, actually transform the way people can live their lives, especially the less fortunate or the less able ones.
Thank you. Hitesh Morar. Basically, I'm the Chief Product Officer for Tecnotree. So I think Tecnotree, basically we focus on building the products to enable these value solutions that our customers actually leverage. And I think it really comes down to building that capability to really improve that channel interaction with our customers, because that's really where the big value comes through. Engaging your customer, being able to talk to your customer, and being able to really interact with them in a more human way. So for us, it's really in terms of providing that capability intrinsically within our platform, making that available more effectively for our customers to engage into any of their channels going forward. But aside from that, I think we spoke about monetization as well. So as we go into the enterprise space, talk about the capabilities that generative AI can bring in terms of providing the ability to make decisioning on the fly, which can really impact your business. And I think that's where the real value of AI can come. So I think that there's a lot of capabilities that we're building into the product itself to enable the business. But I think if I have to summarize in terms of some of the key principles, for me, one is simplicity. And we all talk about technology, we all talk about the data, bringing it into the platform. How do we make it simple for customers to use? How do we make it interactive? You can talk to whether it is a 5-year-old kid or whether it's an 80-year-old person on the end of it that they can share. That's where generative AI has this ability to bring that hyper-personalization to every channel. I think that's the true value that this technology is bringing to the fore, and we can actually take across to everybody. Just as an aside, there was a very interesting example I had with my son last week. Again, like a lot of your kids, using AI to help them with their homework. And the key thing that he did was he asked a question to one of the AI agents and said, "Tell me about a particular activity." And the answer that came back, he then said, "Simplify it." And it stuck with me to say that element to say that technology can actually simplify and answer on the fly is something that we really need to bring to the fore, because this is the true value of that technology that enables you to talk to anybody. And I think that's part of how we also look at our platforms going forward. Is we've been very conditioned to building platforms from a technology perspective. We've asked people to say, you want to search for something, you want to set these particular filters, etc. With Gen AI, we're bringing back that human element. It's all about talking to a system, a human way, and making that information come back to you. And I think that's what we, from a technology perspective, also try to put a lot of focus on, is how do we make sure that engagement and that interaction that we bring is brought to a human form, and not in terms of trying to get people to talk from technology perspective.
The game of microphone pass the parcel continues. Thank you very much, everyone. Those are excellent answers and so comprehensive that I think we've really got time for one follow-up. And I'll just initiate the game of microphone pass the parcel again.
Okay.
From my journalistic point of view, I'm always inclined to. You made the point about how hyped it is and how there's always the danger of overhype. And I certainly know from having been a telecoms journalist as long as I have that we are an industry inclined to overhype. So I guess what I want to get to the bottom of is, now that we've gone through all these use cases, all the brilliant things it can do, could you just each of you give us your thoughts on what sort of challenges or threats or obstacles or whatever people need to watch out for before we can realise all of this. Over to you first, Camille.
An easy question. I mean, the first thing to say is, we've been talking about Generation X, Generation Z. The next generation is Generation AI. And for them, all of this will be completely banal. They'll be taken for granted. But we're not there yet. And any good technology, I mean, it's a baby. We have a baby. We're looking after a baby. You've got to teach them, and you've got to repeat it again and again and again. So what's really critical to me right now is to teach them correctly. And that is the most critical element. And then we'll get to that point where the technology becomes completely invisible or banal. But we have got to do that repetition, that boring repetition, please, thank you, whatever it might be, to train the AI. And that is our duty over the next few years.
Yeah, I think there's two things to say regarding generative AI. So it's going to get better and better. The reason it's going to get better and better is because large language models, by their nature, are a model which can be fine-tuned and improved by profit flow and other methods. So the superpower of all of the operators and the enterprises out there is going to be how they fine-tune generative AI models for their particular customers and to serve their customers and their internal purposes. And another very, very important part is to have a responsible AI framework. So as we go on this journey, we're all learning, but up front, you need to put the time and effort into making sure that the model that you develop in every single way is fair and responsible. And that means making sure that there's no bias, making sure that there's no way that someone can jailbreak it. All of those things and those policies are what we need to put the effort into in 2024, 2025.
Full government's doing it for us. That'd be bad.
Yeah, I think the tools are there, to be honest with you. I think Microsoft is developing a framework to enable it and to make it easier. And then there's going to have to be personalization done by every enterprise and an operator out there to make it their own. I think, it's crucial. As we are moving from last year's MVPs and concepts. We're in production. And, many operators are pushing on now, showing these production Gen AI capabilities. And as we do that, we need to continually fine-tune and to make sure that they are in every way responsible.
Yeah, completely agree, Iain, on the security side, getting a good security framework in place so we can take advantage of AI without creating much bigger issues for our customers and with our data is super important. I'd probably call out the two other kind of enablements that we are thinking of. I think firstly is getting the data in the right state that we can take advantage of it.
Quality data.
Which I think we're both on a journey on that, but a bit of heavy lifting still to do on our side. And then the second is how do you construct good teams who can use the tools correctly? You think about conversation engineers that we had when we were talking about chatbots. Well, how do you take that same concept and land a prompt engineer so they can take advantage of the LLMs in the right way? So getting the organisation fit to take advantage, I think is super important as well. So the good thing is, it's a super interesting topic. Most of our teams want to learn, so there's a high level of interest, but getting them organised in the right way with the right security framework, super important.
Thank you, guys. I mean, I'm not going to say anything the same. Obviously, we can talk about every one of these topics for hours and hours. Responsible AI, skills, data, all of these things are very, very important, and I think it's going to be catalytic in avoiding what is my biggest concern. My biggest concern is to get it wrong. Right? And when I say wrong, I mean value-wise. It is very easy to see the hype and the energy and the excitement be replaced by a lack of value creation that people can see and people can understand and people can measure, and then we fall into, value destruction cycles. And many people will know me down. The cloud story is not a great story. I used to tell people if there is something called cloud repatriation as a term, it's actually a definition of failure, because there should have never been a cloud repatriation as a term. So we need to be very careful about what we do and how we do it, make sure we can deliver value, make sure we can actually maintain the hype and the excitement towards the right direction. And the second biggest thing that I'm worried about is the level of imagination we don't have. Right? So the success story, in my view, would be driven predominantly by how great are the 200 or the 50 or the 30 use cases that we have identified, how able are we to redesign, and not only to redesign, but actually to reimagine. We need to reimagine experiences. We need to reimagine business processes. We need to reimagine how business can operate, considering the technology available, and not go into I have a business process. I mean, we both come from a system integrator background. The most common term we used to have in our time was business process re-engineering, right? Now we cannot deal with business process re-engineering, in my view. It should be business process reimagination. We need to reimagine things in order to design them to be, to your point, fit for purpose for people who consider AI as a kind of given. So, and I don't think we have enough imagination. The imagination capital potential is not big enough, and we have to see how we can stimulate this kind of thinking and this kind of shift in how we design systems and processes and experiences for our customers to enable the value to unlock.
Thank you. Again, I think for me the biggest threat is really in terms of, I mean, we spoke about foundational data. Because at the end of the day, generative data, it's still based on, the data that's out there. And being able to manage, to be able to control that is going to be very important. I think my biggest concern is in terms of how the regulatory authorities, governments, how are they going to get involved in terms of managing this? Because policies can have a very detrimental effect in terms of how this particular area can develop. Right now, we're still very much in the infancy of this particular topic. And I think, yes, it's all honeymoon period with a lot of the use cases that we're driving. We're already seeing a lot of deep fakes, a lot of misinformation which is coming through. And the fear is in terms of that policy that may come in to say, stop, you're not allowed to use that particular data. So I think that's one of the areas that we need to make sure, at least like the platforms, technology perspective, that ability to implement those guardrails, it's intrinsically available in terms of how we actually drive way forward. So I think that for me is really an area that we need to make sure that we develop and rethink.
Hey, thank you very much. Well, I think we're going to have to wrap it up there. But that was fascinating. I definitely feel privileged to have heard from so many experts on this matter. It's definitely going to inform my reporting on AI. Perhaps I'll be a little bit more positive and a bit less skeptical than I was going to be previously. And so, yeah, I'll just wrap it up there. I'll thank all of our panelists. Thank you very much for dealing with this format of microphone pass the parcel. And for everyone listening, thanks again.
Thank you.